Joy Show. I'm Russ Joy. Figured that out because you're smart. It's also the name of the show. Oh, it feels so good to be back. It really does. Why does it feel so good to be back talking to each and every one of you on YouTube, X, Facebook? Because the migraine or whatever the hell was in my head for a full week. I mean, it didn't really finally break until yesterday. It appears to be mostly gone. There's still a little bit of pressure here. But we're going to get through it because there's so much to get to. It was an unplanned, essentially, week off. And I am sorry. Not that I owe it to anybody to say I'm sorry that I felt like crap, but was not feeling well at all last week. It was a brutal week, sitting in a lot of dark rooms trying to look at screens as much as I could to do my job. And I was just like, I can't do the show. Now, who do I blame for migraines? I have to be able to blame somebody, right? Like, that's how life works. You have to be able to blame somebody. Well, I can tell you who I blame. I blame Video Guy Amadeo. Why? Because Video Guy Amadeo told me last week that he wasn't able to fulfill his duties. He had some stuff going on. So I said, okay, that's all right. I'll just do the show. We just won't have any shorts. It'll be okay. And then I got hit with whatever this thing was. Last Monday, did I do a show last Monday? I don't even remember. But I remember getting hit with this like massive migraine. And I was like, all right, it's going to go away. And then I woke up Tuesday and I felt even worse and went through the day, felt horrible. Wednesday, woke up feeling horrible. It just kept going. Eventually go to the doctor, like, don't need to give you guys the blah, blah, blah. But it was really awful. And I was like, I don't know what this is. I don't know why it's happening, but I don't appreciate it happening at all. And I felt pretty dejected and pretty awful. And the worst part, as you know, I think we've come to understand on this show, is that I enjoy doing this and spending time with each and every one of you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And it also kind of like killed the ability to make, there was another announcement that I wanted to make last week that I kind of put out on Twitter, but we didn't get to announce here on the show officially. And there's just a lot to get into. And oh, by the way, the tank is on. The tank is on. Sixers and Flyers both wake up on a Monday morning, March 24th, the year of our Lord 2025, and they both have the fifth best odds of getting the number one overall pick in their respective drafts. Somebody get John Tortorella a little, you know what? I'm going to help him. Let me see. I haven't tried to take this out yet, but let's see. Maybe I can help the guy out. You know, here's what we're going to do. I saw John Tortorella left Ivan Fedotov in for all 7 goals against Chicago, and so that got me thinking. I think he needs a little helmet, so I've got a little helmet here, and I'm happy to send it to Torts. But embrace the tank. Embrace the tank, because whether you want to or not, your team ain't making the playoffs. It's a good feeling. If you want to see your teams get some actual top elite talent, or potentially elite talent in the NBA and in the NHL, embrace the tank. It is brutal out there. If you're a Flyers fan that lives in that delusional world where I got into that shouting match with a guy a few games ago down at Wells Fargo Center about like, oh, I got to go for the wins. And I said, that's delusional. If you're one of those poor people, I do feel bad for you. But like, the Flyers gave up 7 goals to Chicago. The same Chicago team that, I don't know if anybody noticed this or not, and I'm sure that many of you did. That Chicago team has 8 fewer wins. Well, I guess now it's 7 fewer wins than the Flyers. Think about how bad you have to be. Like, legitimately, think about how awful you have to be to have that many more losses, that many fewer wins than the Flyers. And the Flyers gave up 7 goals. Ivan Fedotov, the Iron Giant, a guy that I want to believe in, had a horrible game. Hold on, I just realized something. I'm looking for Ivan Fedotov's talent in this office. Is it here? Nope, I don't see it anywhere. Where could, you know what? Hold on. I have this down here. By the time the season is over, who are we going to feel worse about? Sam Ersson, or are we going to feel worse about Ivan Fedotov? Are we going to feel as bad about them as we might have about Ben Simmons or about Markelle Fultz? I don't know, but I've been looking for goalie talent in this market for this team for about a full calendar year, and it doesn't exist. Sam Ersson has now regressed to a point where he's maybe a number 2, probably a number 2. It might be more poo than number 2. Ivan Fedotov has had good moments, but Sunday was not one of those good moments. In fact, John Tortorella addressed it post-game, so we're going to do a lot of jumping around. I'll get out to the comments here in a second, but does John Tortorella feel great about his netminder? Does he feel great about the guy that he let in to give up 7 goals? Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, but 7 godforsaken goals. Let's actually go out to John Tortorella from post-game yesterday, because Torts had some interesting stuff to say about, I guess we could say, young Ivan Fedotov. Here's how Torts responded when asked about whether or not Fedotov needs to prove himself and prove whether he should be on the NHL roster next year. The answer may surprise you, or not. Let's go out to Torts. How you feeling there, fella?
I didn't want to.
Is Ivan still in the process of trying to prove to you guys that he deserves to belong here and going into next season?
Does he
still have to prove that he belongs on the NHL roster?
Yeah. I mean, shit, yeah.
7 goals allowed, 2 shit yeahs from Torts. Not exactly great if you're Ivan Fedotov waking up this morning. Not ideal at all. So Torts very much believes Fedotov is kind of playing for his potential future in Philadelphia. Could he be playing for his future in the NHL? Remains to be seen. Alexei Kolosov, God knows what's going to happen with him between now and the start of next season. And again, Sam Ersson, they're not going to move on from, but he has pretty much, I think, at this point proven that he will not be a guy that you can rely on to be a bona fide number 1 in this league. So, okay, what does that mean, and where does that take us if you are a fan of your team, your town, your Philadelphia Flyers? It takes you to a very comfortable place. It takes you to 5th from the bottom in the NHL. And listen, I know that we usually get to this later in the show, but I am so damn excited about the fact that things are finally kind of coming to fruition the way that they're supposed to in the midst of a rebuild. You're not supposed to compete for a playoff spot. You are supposed to try to effectively race to the bottom. And now, just by virtue of, if you want to say, 5 roster players were traded, Joel Farabee, Morgan Frost, Scott Lawton, Andrei Kuzmenko were all dealt, and Eric Johnson. You say, all right, well, after the fact that, after you consider 5 roster guys have been moved, what does that mean? It means that your team isn't very good. They weren't good to start, in fairness. They weren't that good. They were playing above their heads, and once again, you saw a John Tortorella team get out to a stronger than expected start to some extent and play really hard. And, for the second year in a row, it looks like the guys are wearing down. The message might be wearing a little bit thin, and, things are falling apart down the stretch. I'm shocked. I'm truly shocked. Oh, no, I'm not, because the same shit repeats itself year after year. But anyway, they moved roster players, which is good. That's what you're supposed to do. So here's where the Flyers are relative to the rest of the Eastern Conference and the rest of the Western Conference. This is the bottom of the lottery, and my friends, the Flyers are now strongly in 5th. They're tied with Seattle, but Seattle has a game in hand. They could pick up extra points there. So if you're the Flyers, this is a thing of beauty. Also, Buffalo has 3 games in hand. So if you look at this, the Flyers are 3 points. They are a mere 3 points away from potentially falling to number 4. Buffalo, by virtue of having 3 games in hand, have a potential 6 points available. Now, is Buffalo going to win all 3? No, they're not. However, worth noting, Buffalo, look over here, 4-6-0 over their last 10. Look at Nashville behind them. Only 5 points ahead of the Flyers. 5-4-1 in their last 10 games. This is a thing of beauty. Now, the Flyers could never get back down into these bottom 2 spots. But there is a plausible scenario here where Buffalo and Nashville end up leaping past, or at least Buffalo leaps past the Flyers. Now, also worth noting, the Flyers and the Sabres have some head-to-head matchups left this year. Those are what I effectively call a 4-point game, because a win in regulation takes you 1 place. A loss in regulation, which would be a regulation win for Buffalo, that's a 4-point swing. That's 2 plus 2 for them, minus 2 for you. 4-point swing. You take those 2 games together, that's a potential 8-point swing. So, no matter how you want to look at it, there is a very real scenario here where, regardless of what happens with Nashville, the Flyers could potentially find themselves in that number 4 spot. Now, we talk about the fact that this is probably a 4-player draft. Some call it a 5. I've seen a couple of people say, 6 players are potentially not franchise cornerstones, but are very good players. So you go, all right, if there are 6 players out there that you want to believe in, 6 players that you think could be worth building around if you're the Flyers, this is a good spot to be in. Because remember, as I always say, the top 2 spots in this draft are up for a lottery. So if you think that this is a 6-player draft, you want to land at number 4 at the very worst, because if 2 teams jump over you, you still get to pick at number 6. You don't want to end up like down here where Boston is at number 8, because yes, you have the chance to jump into one of those top 2, but a worst case scenario pushes Boston down to 10. So now that we've kind of relitigated this, it's important to just have a general idea. The Flyers right now, if the season were to end and things were to go the way that it looks like they could, and nothing happens weird in the draft where there's anybody jumping and knocking the Flyers down, 5th pick in this draft is thought to be a very good player. And that's about all you can hope for in a rebuild. Now, there are people starting to ask, oh, should the Flyers tank next season for McKenna? Because he looks like a very good player. Do we tank for McKenna? I see no scenario where the Flyers are going to tank next year. I don't. I think that they're going to take swings and they're going to try to make the playoffs next year. You can call that a mistake. You can call that the right call. Whatever you want to call it, that is up to you. I just don't think that they're going to look to be in the business of being bad one more season. Could they have, when they drafted Mishkov, thought, oh, we have another year. We have another year of being very bad. Perhaps we will continue to be horrible. I think as soon as Mishkov came over, that kind of went out the window. So if you were hoping that the 25-26 season is going to be intentionally bad, very unlikely. Could injuries derail a season? Sure, they have in the past. Now, we are going to sim this really quickly. I did this yesterday on my phone. It took me 3 times to get to the Flyers at number 1 overall pick. We're only going to spin it 1 time. We don't tempt fate. We don't test the gods. We just go out and we do what we have to do. We're going to sim this. And Flyers fall 1 spot to 6th, and Columbus gets the number 1 overall pick. All right, we're not going to get upset. We're not going to get upset. All right, so that's where the Flyers are right now. Now, there are other things that maybe are concerning to you if you are a Flyers fan. I could go back out to Torts again because Torts had a much more concerning thing that he said post-game beyond just Fedotov. Because whatever you want to say about Fedotov, Ersin Kolosov, whatever, it's pretty clear that none of them are believed to be the number 1 netminder of the future, the present, long-term, cornerstone, franchise netminder. Nobody internally seems to believe that that's like where this thing is heading. But I have one legitimate concern, and it came out of this postgame. We've been talking a lot about the blue line on this show over on Snow the Goalie. We've been talking about a lot of places. The defense is a significant issue for me. This blue line is a mess. And long-term, this will not be the group that's going to like try to take you to the promised land. Too many small defensemen. Bradshaw came on Snow the Goalie at the Carnival, said, winning a cup with this many smaller defensemen probably isn't going to work. It won't. Risto, by the way, week to week, love that. Good thing you held on to playoff Risto. And, well, it's a good thing you didn't make the playoffs this year, because then maybe you wouldn't have had playoff Risto. Maybe he's just cursed at this time of year. But Torts had a very concerning thing to say about the defensemen. So we're going to get there, and then we're going to get off the Flyers, and we're going to go out to the comments, and we're going to talk about the Sixers, and we got the Phillies. A little Philly stuff. DeVonta Smith saying some good stuff, but let's just finish up here with the Flyers really quick. Torts, what do you think about the blue line there, fella? You feeling good about your blue line? How you feeling?
Our defensemen have problems seeing the ice. Okay, it's something that we have to continue to try to. Hopefully, it'll settle down. I think Jamie struggles seeing the ice. I think Emil struggles seeing the ice. Hopefully, they get more reps. They'll see these lanes and they can start putting pucks through.
Next, coach.
Yeah, I absolutely hate that. I don't like that at all. That doesn't make me feel good at all. If I'm somebody who cares about the Flyers, that's about as bad of a response as you could have hoped for. And I don't say that because it's like as if I'm saying that Torts is lying there. He's not. He's correct. It does in fact look like this team, for whatever reason, has a really hard time. This blue line has a hard time seeing the ice. Could it be because they're so small? I don't know. You talk about vision, you talk about playmaking. You would expect Drysdale to be good at that. Emil Andre has come up at various times this season and has been good at that. Cam York was supposed to be really good at that. Hence, you traded down and passed on Cole Caulfield twice. Not that goal scoring or anything would be helpful now. No. It's a legitimate concern. And this team doesn't seem to have anybody. You talk about last year, the thing that really screwed up this team down the stretch. They made the Walker trade, and he was the guy who truly was the best at connecting each level of the game. He was seemingly the only guy who could connect from his own defensive zone into the neutral zone, or even get you from the defensive zone into the offensive zone. He was the only one. They traded him, and then the whole thing fell apart. So there are like legitimate concerns if you're a Flyers fan. One thing I'm not concerned about. I don't think there's a 10-game winning streak coming, friends. I think the Flyers are maybe going to end up in a good spot. And then when the draft happens this year, we're going to be able to smile and look on it favorably because it's going to mean that the Flyers are doing what they're supposed to do. Now, I am going to go out to the comments here really quickly because I love the people in the comments, and I think they're great. And they make me so happy. And let's go out and see what people are saying, and then we'll get into the other teams. Mark DeFiance, Mark DeFiance, or DeFiance. What's the chances of dropping one or both of our goalies this offseason? I don't know. The Kolosov thing is going to be really weird. So, let's look at the three. Are they going to trade Sam Ersson? Highly unlikely. Are they going to trade Alexei Kolosov? Maybe. If they feel like Kolosov is going to be on this roster next year, maybe as the backup, then he stays. If there's going to be this kind of back and forth between Philly and Lehigh Valley, then there's a good enough chance that they could look to trade Kolosov to a team that needs a young netminder, needs a backup goalie, and can pretty much guarantee that there's going to be some playing time there. Now, there have been a lot of different things going around about what's going on with Kolosov. What was the reason that he was up here for so long? I have yet to find a person who said that Alexei Kolosov is a bad guy. And when I say a person, I mean anybody around the organization. I have not heard a single person say that Alexei Kolosov is a diva, a drama queen, a pain in the ass. It makes you wonder then, why was he up here for so long? That's fine. I think it's probably important here that at some point somebody says, guy's not an asshole. So, I didn't agree with the idea of having three goalies up here for as long as they did this season. I think it's good that he's down in Lehigh Valley, but I don't know. I don't think they're going to move him unless they really feel like they have to. Fedotov is the one that I honestly don't know. Could there be a trade market for Ivan Fedotov? Maybe. Big body. He's had some really good games. Team playing in front of him isn't particularly good. Cap hit's not great. There's only, I think, 1 year left on that deal. So, maybe you eat some of the money for next year and you make a deal around the draft. I don't know. But I would be very surprised if Sam Ersson and Ivan Fedotov are your 1 and 2 next year. I really can't imagine that they're going to pay Fedotov to go play in Lehigh Valley. So I would imagine they're going to move one of the three. Could they move two of the three? Maybe. Are you going to see a Bjarnason or a Zavragan over here next year? No. Chris Freed says he lives. I do. Len Joseph. Russ is alive. Tankety tank. Go the tracks on the Flyers tank. Indeed. Greg Bondarenko says Russ didn't get canceled. No. I don't know why I would have gotten canceled this time. Uncancelable. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? Andrew Faust says, good morning, y'all. Jamie, with the nice, hope you're feeling better. I'm feeling significantly better. I'm feeling better that I'm here with all of you. Jacqueline D says, Russ, hope you're feeling better. Migraines are horrible. They are. They really are. This was unlike anything I've ever had, where it's lasted that many days, and nothing seemed to help. Chris Freed says, did Torch show up Ivan the Terrible by not benching him during the game against Chicago? No, because there have been games where he's let Sam Ersson in, and I've been like, yo, time to pull him, put in the Iron Giant. I think at this point, Torch is just fed up enough with these guys that this is kind of where they're at. Chris Freed also said the transfer portal has killed March Madness. The NIL, I think, has had a really big impact on why we haven't seen nearly as many upsets as we are accustomed to seeing at this point. I watched that Colorado State-Maryland game last night, and watching Colorado State, who are 1-11 from downtown in the second half of that game, they dial up a play. I forget the guy's name. Takes it from the right wing. Swish. 1-point lead. Maryland advances it to half court. Calls timeout. Have 3.5 seconds left. And they get it to their center, who just puts on a hell of a move and on the run goes glass and wins it for Maryland and avoids the upset. And I have to be honest, like, this tournament has had some nice moments in it, but this doesn't feel like the March Madness I love. What happened to the game I love? I've asked myself that a lot. Good tournament, not a great one so far, in my opinion. We'll see. Seth Pamilia says, Michael Misa, here we come. Maybe. Could be there. Could be available. Jamie says, it's a great Monday morning after Derek Queen put my Terps through to the Sweet 16. Jamie, enjoy that. Love that. Amadeo is here, says morning. Sean C., it's kind of funny to see the difference in the Sixers and Flyers beat writers. Sixers beats are actively tracking the pursuit of the Sixers keeping their pick. Flyers writers are up in arms about goalies. It's a mess. It's funny. I'll look on Twitter. Kyle Neubeck just rails against the Sixers. And, like, I think last night he put out a gif of a tank. And then, like, you look at some of the Flyers beats and they're just, like, actively upset, to Sean's point about the goalies. Like, what are we doing, guys? It's a fucking tank. All right, it's a tank on both sides. Whether it's intentional or not doesn't really matter. Both teams are likely headed toward the lottery. Now, we could really, we said, the Sixers, how the Sixers are looking, how the Sixers are feeling. Let's really quickly take a goosey gander over at Tankathon for Los Sixers de Philadelphia, because things are pretty good there too. Flyers have the 5th best odds of getting the number 1 pick. Sixers have the 5th best odds of getting the number 1 overall pick. Now, if you keep in mind, the percentages work drastically differently than in the NBA than they do in the NHL, where the NHL has I would say, disproportionate percentage in the top 2 picks, the likelihood of getting the number 1 overall pick. 1 through 3 in the NBA have the same 14% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick. But anyway, the Sixers, remember, top 6 protected pick. If it falls out of the top 6, they lose it to Oklahoma City. So let's go over here really quick. Let's sim this lottery one time, see how the Sixers do. And the Sixers lose their pick to Oklahoma City. So this was not a good double spin this morning. The Flyers fall from 5 to 6, and the Sixers fall from 5 to 8 and lose their pick. All right, so just remind me to never do that again. That was about as bad of a result as we could have had. Maybe we'll get all the bad juju out from Tankathon, and then it won't affect the real world. We'll find out. But, like, if you're a Sixers fan, there are very few things to feel good about right now. Justin Edwards, oddly enough, is one of the good things. We can feel pretty good about Justin Edwards, a guy who was undrafted and a guy who, to this point, I would say, has put together a nice string. And there was a little graphic going around. We'll throw this up here really quickly. But over his last 3 games, we're feeling pretty good about Justin Edwards. A nice 20.7 points per game. Shooting just under 54% from the field, just under 48% from downtown. You got to love that. Pretty damn good feeling. So now, if you're looking at the future for the Sixers, right? If all goes well, you're going to get your pick, right? You'll have a top 6 protected pick. So you'll hopefully have a top 6 pick. You'll have Tyrese Maxey. You'll have Jared McCain, who you're feeling really good about. You have this Justin Edwards that, like, really seems to be developing in front of our eyes with how many games left? Is it 10 games left? It's, let's see, a little bit of math. That's 71. Yeah, 11 games left in the season. If he continues to develop, you're feeling pretty good about Justin Edwards going into the offseason. Quentin Grimes has definitely shown you flashes of being a very good potential player on this team. They will likely trade Paul George in the offseason, and then you have whatever's going to happen with Joel Embiid. The world, like, the sky is not falling long-term if you're the Sixers. I would argue that right now, although they have not had the season that they wanted to have by any stretch of the imagination, I would argue that the Sixers, at least from a longer-term perspective, are probably better set up than they have any right to be. If they get that top 6 pick, I don't know who they're going to get, but presumably is going to be a difference maker. If they somehow were to, I don't know, be gifted just a little bit of luck. Can I ask, can I beg of the basketball gods just this one time? Can we have Cooper Flagg? Can we just have one nice gift from the basketball gods? Okay, listen, I get it. Tyrese Maxey was kind of like karmic payoff for what Markelle Fultz was supposed to be. So fine, that's a wash. Fultz, Maxey, wash. Ben Simmons falling apart, not shooting the ball, breaking down, back deteriorating, Paul George falling apart in his first season as a Sixer. James Harden forcing his way out of here. Daryl Morey lighting himself on fire and saying dumb shit on panels and at summits. Joel Embiid can't stay healthy. 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 That's 5 more reasons why we deserve a little bit of good karmic payback. How about the Jahlil Okafor pick? How about Nerlens Noel not working out? Can we please just have one good basketball thing happen in this Cooper flag? That'd be great. All right? Be pooper for Cooper. I don't know if I like that one. That might not work. Poop for Coop. Be poop for Coop. I guess that's a little bit better. Can we just get like one good thing? Can we get one good thing for the Sixers? Because that one good thing would be great. I would love that. It'd be awesome. By the way, while I'm on the Sixers, before I get off the Sixers, there was a thing I wanted to show you guys, and I don't think it blew up nearly as much as it should have last week. I would highly encourage you to go look up what Marcus Morris had to say about Daryl Morey and about his time in Philadelphia and about how Daryl Morey lied. He said that Daryl Morey lied to players about what they were going to get and very much implied that James Harden may have been lied to. You know, when you go back to that max extension that was rumored, he was on with Kevin O'Connor. I would highly recommend that you go look for it. I was going to play a clip on the show last week. Just looking at the time right now, I don't think it's worth it right now, but I would tell you it's probably worth your time to just check out. I'm going to go back out to the comments here real quick. Nico's here with a what up. Sean C says, I do hope the Flyers don't blow it. Easiest strength of schedule remaining. Hopefully a desperate Columbus team will in free fall will continue to fight until the end. Could be. Andrew claims that the migraine, that is out with an upper body injury. Correct. Jim Grasso says, the Flyers have to start Feds these last 2 games against Buffalo coming up. Sean C says, Jet Lachenko season part 2 loading. I don't think he's going to be up. There were questions about whether or not Lachenko could maybe finish out the season here. I would be surprised if he does. There are a few other guys that people have been asking about, prospects in the pipeline. Could they get a look here? I don't see it. I think it's very unlikely that you see like a bonk or a bump. Probably not. Greg Bondarenko asked if I was listed as day-to-day. Now I'm week-to-week. Zach O with an oh yes! Let's see. A lot of back and forth here. Seth says, wait till they have Misa and Jet in the system and neither is playing on the main roster. That would piss a lot of people off. Sean C says, Penguins keep racking up the points. They may be uncatchable. Yeah, Pittsburgh is doing that very weird thing where you don't have much of a shot of making the playoffs. You really don't belong even remotely close to the playoff conversation, but they're 5-3-2 in their last 10. So, interesting. Jim Grasso with a fucking nuclear take. This is one of the craziest things, and in fairness, there are a lot of crazy things said in the comments section of this show. Jim Grasso says, hot take. This is like a habanero mixed with a Carolina Reaper hot take. Your starting goalie for the 2025-2026 Philadelphia Flyers will be Carter Hart. Not a chance in hell. I mean, I don't know if I need to get like Vince McMahon to walk through the curtain to no chance in hell, but to say I would be shocked would be the understatement of the century. I see no scenario where Carter Hart is back with the Flyers. Ever. Could it happen? I guess anything is possible. I would be fucking shocked if Carter Hart were back with the Flyers. Now, in fairness, Carter Hart's, I believe that the trial is supposed to start in April. If the allegations prove to be false and he is cleared in full, there will be NHL teams that'll kick the tires on him. I just don't know how the Flyers go back to that. And I also don't know if Carter Hart would want to come back to the Flyers. In fairness, the Flyers didn't bury Carter Hart. They could have said a lot of things about the allegations. They could have gone into more detail. They could have distanced themselves further from the player. So maybe if you're Hart, you look at it and you go, hey, they didn't kill me. Maybe they've stayed in contact. I don't know. Could he maybe want to come back to the team that he's played his entire career with? Maybe. I would be shocked. I honestly would be very, very surprised if there were a reunion coming. He has other things to worry about right now. They have young goalies in the pipeline that I think they would certainly want to kind of get an eye on at some point, so we'll see. Zacho says, Misa, Hagans, Frondel, O'Brien, Denoye will be getting a solid center prospect no matter how things fall, as long as the Flyers don't fall in the draft lottery. Chris Freed says, Snow the Goalie podcast needs to be rebranded as the Goalie Blows podcast. Yeah, it's just, none of them are good. None of them are good, my friends. None of them. Not a single one. Let's see. Raymond Suber says, I think you bring Fedotov down to Tampa to be Vazzy's backup. Going through workouts with Vazzy and the goalie coach maybe can salvage him. The games he played here, he looked like a Vezina candidate. I don't know. I like Fedotov, and I would still rather see Fedotov get more starts down the stretch here so we can get a better idea of what he is than watch Sam Ersson. And I like Sam Ersson, but I don't feel good about it. Tony Louis says, unless they overhaul 50% of this roster in the summer, the team isn't going to make big improvements. They just have too many holes. They're not going to get 2 centers, 2 defensemen, and a goalie in one offseason. That's probably true. But again, that's why I think that they're more likely to try to make the playoffs next year than tank. Even though they have the holes, they have so many holes right now, they're going to patch some of them. They have to. AJ over on YouTube says, Buffalo wins a few and passes the Flyers. Philly lucks out in the lottery, picks 3rd at the draft. They can't. They can't get to 3rd. If Buffalo passes them and Nashville passes them and nothing changes, then the Flyers can finish 3rd. But there's only 2 spots up in the draft lottery, so you can't get all the way up to number 3. Sean C says those 3 games in hand versus Buffalo has. Sean C also says Jamie Drysdale has been a Snow the Goalie chat room punching bag for the majority of the season, but he's looked much better in these last few months. He has. We can feel pretty good about it. Allison here with a great segue to something else. Says the defense. What about the power play? Oh, Allison, I'm so glad you asked about the power play because I don't know if anybody saw this or not, but Torts has gone on a propaganda tour. NBC Sports Philly sat down with Tortorella for a 4-part series, and among the many things discussed about the Flyers is John Tortorella talking about Rocky Thompson, talking about the power play. And it wouldn't even be fair to me. Would not be fair of me to give you my thoughts on until you hear from the horse's mouth how he feels about his power play coach and about whether or not the criticism is warranted. So I'm actually going to go out to Ashlyn Sullivan and to Torts, and I want you to hear what Torts has to say about Rocky Thompson and about the power play. Because apparently, maybe you guys don't know this, the power play is actually not that bad. Or at least the coaching isn't that bad. Or at least the strategy is not that bad. Let's hear it. Go ahead, Torts. Just tell them about Rocky.
The patience of this, the power play, is something that fans are definitely frustrated about, and you've been honest.
A lot of meal on that.
I would imagine so. That's
I've got
probably
a lot of
most
diagrams on that.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, I've got
PDFs.
I've got handwritten diagrams as far as our power play. So.
Well, what are they saying to do?
Oh, there's a lot of discussion as far as setups, breakouts. I could go on forever with that.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
I'm sure you take that and bring it to practice. What the fans' diagrams are saying.
Well, sometimes they get some interesting points, and there's not much that gets to Rocky. And again, I know Rocky's kind of a little bit of a flashpoint here because he is the head coach of the power play. We do it all together. Rocky runs it. I wish people that are negative, that's the stuff that bothers me is when I have people ripping my coaching staff.
You blame it on one guy.
Yeah, you can't.
Oh, we can't. So we shouldn't rip Rocky Thompson. Okay, so I'm just, let me go through this really quickly. I'm just trying to remember. It must be that the Flyers power play is actually better than we think because Torts just said it's not fair to criticize Rocky Thompson or to put it all on Rocky Thompson. We do it together. We do the power play together. Okay, so let me just remind John Tortorella of something because it's just a number. Sometimes I'm a numbers guy, sometimes I'm not. But The Flyers power play hasn't scored a goal in their last 31 opportunities. You know, when you have a power play, right? For those who don't understand hockey, power play, you have one extra skater on the ice, which is supposed to be an advantage, right? You play 5 skaters versus 4, which means that in a best case scenario for the defending team, they could go man to man with 4 of the 5, but offensively, then you still have one guy who's open because it's supposed to be a benefit. It's supposed to be an advantage. You're supposed to feel good about the power play. And actually, even shitty teams, like even legitimately bad teams in the National Hockey League, they still put the puck in the net. Like they still lock themselves into it because it's 5 skaters versus 4 skaters. You find an open man, maybe on the far post, maybe just inside the blue line, maybe on the bumper, maybe on the half wall. Who the fuck cares? There's 31 opportunities in a row. This Flyers team has 0 goals. How many goals? 0 goals. How many power play opportunities have they had in a row? 31. How many goals do they have? 0. I don't give a shit if Rocky Thompson is like the godfather to Torts' dogs. He doesn't belong as the power play coach in the NHL. Nay, nay. Oh, well, the talent's not that good, Russ. Then why the fuck did they give these guys money? Why is Travis Konechny getting paid? Why did Owen Tippett get paid? Well, what about Mishkov? Mishkov is one guy, and he's 20, and it's his first year in the league, and he might be the only valuable thing they have on the power play. Like, it is lunacy. Oh, you can't put this on Rocky. Then who the fuck do you put it on, Torts? Who does it go on? Like, this is insane. If in baseball, right? Team goes through a long, prolonged stretch of being unable to hit the ball. Sometimes the hitting coach loses his job, even if he's a good hitting coach. They have to make a change. They change the hitting coach. Sometimes the rotation stinks, and they make a change at, you guessed it, pitching coach. This isn't complicated. Sometimes in football, the defense stinks. They change the defensive coordinator. Sometimes special teams is an issue. They change the special teams coordinator. And yet, Rocky Thompson continues to get the benefit of the doubt. This power play has been like dead last or damn near it for 3 years. Rocky Thompson's not a power play coach. He's just not. You have to figure out a way over 31 opportunities to put your players in position to execute. And listen, maybe Torts is right. Maybe Rocky Thompson is somehow a power play savant, and we are not worthy. We are not worthy to watch hockey games in which Rocky Thompson's horror show continues to take the ice. Maybe we're not worthy, and Rocky Thompson is a fucking genius, and we're all just idiots. It's possible. So maybe Rocky's great. Then Torts should just free him. Set him free. If you love him, set him free. Let him go find another power play unit in the league. Let him turn that power play unit around. You know, I seem to remember, though, that Rocky's prior stop as a power play coach also wasn't very good. And that was a more talented team. And that also didn't work out. Maybe it is the coach. Torts is fiercely loyal. I almost respect it to an extent. But like at some point the guy can do the job or he can't. I get that these players aren't that good. 31 opportunities in a row to have 0 goals is absolutely insane. It's beyond insanity. Oh, everybody knows insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. This is beyond that. This is like willful negligence. This is organizational malpractice. I don't care what happens through the end of the season. I really don't even care going into next year. The team will, I don't know. Will Torts be the head coach next year? Possible. He has 1 year left. Will they extend him? Maybe. Will they move him upstairs? Maybe. I don't know. Somebody has to make a change. Like somebody has to make a change on that power play. There is no redeeming quality over the last 3 years that you can point to and say, oh yeah, Rocky's doing a good job there. 0 for 31. Insane! Oh, I just wish people knew how hard he prepared. I don't give a shit how hard he prepares. God love him. He's getting paid. Good for him. He can go find another job. Get off the team. Go away. Find another place, Rocky. Rocky Road, take me home to the place I belong. Not the power play. Go away. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Amadeo is correct. Power play in San Diego is god-awful too. Happen to have a couple of really good defensemen there too, who could maybe help on the power play. And I seem to remember that the power play got better, I believe, after Rocky left, huh? Amazing how that works, huh? Interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay. So I'm done there. I'm going to try to be done with the Flyers. I tried to get away from the Flyers. Let's see. I see all kinds of stuff in the comments here. James over on YouTube says, I'm predicting Higgins to Philly. That'd be nice. Sean C. asked about the pick before. Where's the Sixers pick protected at? Top 6. If you get it anywhere in the top 6, you keep it. Outside of the top 6, it goes away. Josh Gaynor says that I was channeling my inner Jason Kelsey with a rant. Maybe. Perhaps. Hexram is here. I don't know what those are. Those look like block emojis laughing. I guess that's good. I don't know. Sean C. says Bump should join the Phantoms, hopefully after Western Michigan season is over. Bonk and Barkey will probably be playing through May. That's where you would expect to see a bunch of the prospects go. Could they go to Lehigh Valley and try to fortify that team as they make the playoff run? It's possible. Maybe. Yeah, possible. Sean C. asks, am I looking too much into Torts not being shy about dropping Hart's name? Yes, I think you're looking too much into it. I do. Again, I'll be shocked. If he comes back and he's cleared of all the charge against him or accusations, then sure. But until then, it's not even remotely in the conversation as far as I'm concerned. Ford is here. Hello, Ford. Good to see you. Says, maybe the reason you keep getting headaches is you need to stop screaming. You're giving me a headache. I'm sorry, Ford. Turn the volume down. Tony goes, if Rocky Thompson gets a bad rap, then so did Hiroshima. Jeez. Sean C. says, by the way, Torch said in that interview, which has been uploaded in full, that he'll go if they tell him to go. Wonder if that means that he'll move upstairs if they ask him to. I think that's what's going to end up happening. I'd be shocked. I think Torts is going to be here. I think Torts is pretty much going to get paid from now until the end of his life by the Flyers organization. There are people within the organization who seem enamored with Torts, and that's fine. I don't even care at this point. The team is doing what I expected the team to do. They're falling apart down the stretch. This is to be expected. Do I think Torts is going to be the guy who's the coach when they flip the switch? No, and I've been on record with that for quite some time. So whatever. I can't even get upset about it anymore. I don't even care. He could be the coach. He could not be the coach. He could go upstairs. He could go downstairs. I don't care. Whatever. He's going to get paid. He's going to keep getting paid. This is the way of things. All right. I have other stuff that I need to get to, though. We talked about the Sixers a bit. We talked about the Flyers a bit. We didn't even touch on the fact that the Union got back in the win column. We'll just kind of do one of these. We will get somebody on to talk about the Union, probably this week. It's a good bounce-back win, a 1-0 win. Ford wasn't there, and hence the Union are back in. Mind you, the only time that the Union have lost this year is when Ford was in attendance. Now, there are a couple of other things. I'm going to end on a positive note. Going to end on a high note. So we're going to get to DeVonta Smith at the end of the show. But first, there are two things that are driving me crazy about the Phillies. And the Phillies are, getting themselves ready, right? Phillies are getting ready to start their season. We're all supposed to get excited about it. We're supposed to, believe in the Phillies. We're supposed to believe in their ability to maybe win the NL East, maybe get themselves set up for a good season. The season opener's on Thursday down in Washington. I think I'm going to go to one of the games this weekend. I'm not sure which one. I'm going to take the family down to Washington to go see opening weekend. Tickets are actually pretty affordable, so I think we might go down. That's a nice ballpark, too. But they start their season this week, and we still have two things that are undecided. One, who's at the top of the order? And two, what the hell is going on with the fifth starter in the rotation? We got a little bit of clarity, my friends. We got just a little bit of an idea. Rob Thompson was quoted, and it made me sick. He was quoted as saying, that when it comes to the top of the lineup, right, because we've all been wondering, is Trey Turner going to lead off? I believe I played on the show now 2 weeks ago. There was a clip of Trey Turner saying he'd be open to batting leadoff. Thinks he could do a lot of damage there, could steal some bases, could kind of wreak some havoc on the base paths. Or are they going to have Kyle Schwarber at the top of the lineup? Well, Topper was asked about it recently. I think it was yesterday. Was asked about it and said, it could be that against a lefty, Turner leads off. Against a righty, Schwarber leads off. But the top 4 guys remain the same. And for those who might have forgotten, those of you who might have, purged the Phillies season from your brains because the pain of the playoff exit to the Mets hurt so much, Schwarber, Turner, Harper, and Bohm were your top 4 last year. Does this instill confidence in anybody? No. Alec Bohm was a guy that, most of us thought was going to be dealt in the offseason. He was a guy that, was rumored to be in the Kyle Tucker trade talks with Houston. Remember, there's Bohm and Castellanos were mentioned in the Tucker trade market. Didn't come to fruition. I'm honestly shocked that Bohm is here. But now Topper's looking at it going, yeah, I think those top 4 are probably going to stay the same. So maybe he'll flip-flop Schwarber and Turner depending on the starter. Boy, does that give you a resounding feeling of confidence that things are going to be better this year, that things are going to get better this year? No, it doesn't. Change something up, Rob. Say we're going to start the season with Turner at the top, and if it doesn't work, we know we can go back to Schwarber because Schwarber's been a great leadoff hitter for us, but we want to see if Schwarber can do a little bit of damage a little bit further down in the lineup. That's it. Show that you're trying something different. Say, well, we might rotate. We might switch the guys depending on the matchup. That doesn't instill confidence. And I get it. I get that the manager doesn't have to make changes just to appease the fans. The same way the Torts would say you don't have to make a change on the power play unit to appease the fans. But, I'm not asking for a lot here. I'm just asking for something so I could believe that something might be different this year. Because I'm pretty much on record now for a while saying Phillies aren't going to blow anyone out of the water. I don't think the Phillies are going to win the NL East. They'll probably be in a wild card spot. If the rotation stays healthy, they put themselves in better position, a stronger position for that wild card. But I don't think that they're going to win the NL East. I think they're going to be in a dogfight for a wild card spot late in the season. And a lot of that is probably going to come down to this lineup will go cold again. So I'm very disappointed in the fact that, one, the Phillies didn't go out and get an impact bat. I've been consistent about that. I think it's a very big disappointment, and I think that they're missing an opportunity once again, especially when you watch a certain player who was a big name, who you were, supposed to be, who you were potentially going to try to woo in Juan Soto. You watch him go to the Mets. You don't make a move. You get Max Kepler. That is not going to do it. And now we can't even go into the season saying, oh, they're trying something different this year. Let's see if we can get something going with Trey Turner at the top of the lineup. That is gone. That is out. That is not happening. So that's bad. That's bad, very bad. And we should feel bad about it. Things got worse, though, because we get back to that rotation about if that rotation can stay healthy. The rotation already can't stay healthy. The rotation already isn't healthy because we're going to have to fucking start the season with Taijuan Walker. I have to watch Taijuan Walker in the rotation. Oh, if you missed this, don't worry. Rob Thompson confirmed it over the weekend. Oh, yeah, we're getting Taijuan Walker to start the season, baby. Don't worry. Because let's go over to Todd Zalecki. Rob Thompson said on TV, Ranger Suarez will start the season on IL. Taijuan Walker will be the number 5 starter. He will start the 6th game of the season. Oh, that's encouraging. They're going to wait till the 6th game for Taijuan. But Taijuan Walker's going to start again, huh? Taijuan Walker's going to start again, huh? We're starting another season with Taijuan Walker in the rotation. We're starting another season with Taijuan Walker in the rotation. They didn't feel good about, maybe moving him in the offseason. Maybe they could swindle a team or maybe offer another team something, anything to get rid of him. He's still here. We're going to have to watch. We're going to watch Taijuan Walker. Didn't Taijuan Walker go 10-plus games last year in a row with the Phillies losing every one of his starts? So your only real goal if you're a 5th starter, maybe try to eat some innings and keep your team somewhat in the game. And instead, Taijuan Walker just kept getting his ass handed to him, game in and game out. And the Phillies kept losing games that Taijuan Walker started. You mean there's not like a single, like, somewhat healthy body in the farm system anywhere that could come up and, like, take a few starts? Taijuan Walker, okay. So we can't move Taijuan Walker to the bullpen and just, like, have him try to reinvent himself and maybe find some success there and have him start there and just stay there the whole season and just, like, put a stopgap from the farm system in that spot. Okay, we can't do that, but we're going to have Taijuan Walker start the season in this rotation again. I want to scream, but I've done enough screaming. I don't even have it in me. I'm almost apathetic when it comes to Taijuan Walker. Like, I'm upset. But am I upset? Because, again, this team didn't do a lot in the offseason to make me feel like they're taking this window seriously. They haven't done nearly enough to make me feel like last year was an anomaly and that this year they're going to get back into it and they're going to be a really competitive team and that they could win the NL East and maybe even challenge the Dodgers and get themselves back to a World Series. They didn't make any moves of real value. Hey, Jesus Luzardo might be a good move. That might be it. Max Kepler might be a decent enough bat. Those aren't moves that teams that are trying to win a World Series make. Taijuan Walker. We're getting Taijuan Walker again. Oh, by the way, if you're like,
Oh, I'll tell you what. Here's a good thing. Yeah, Taijuan Walker. Maybe he's had a good, guys, maybe Taijuan Walker's had a better spring than people realize. Because, how many people really watch spring training? That could be it too. I mean, maybe Taijuan Walker's actually better than everybody thinks. And we're all just missing it. Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah, maybe that's it.
No. Here's Taijuan Walker. Spring training. Taijuan Walker. 1-1. 6.92 ERA. In 4 starts. 6.92 ERA. 1.69 whip. And you might be saying to yourself, hey, Russ, in fairness, last year he had 15 starts. He had a 7.10 ERA. It's down to 6.92 this spring training. That's technically progress. That's right. Taijuan Walker to start the season in the rotation again. God help us. God help us all. All right, last thing. And I see that there are people in the comments and they're getting upset about the Phillies, and I get it, and I'm upset, and it's bad. It's bad, very bad. It's legitimately about as bad as it could be, and I want to believe that it's going to be okay. I see that Ford and Sean C. right now are talking about somebody on Twitter who apparently is like somebody who really believes in this Phillies team right now. Good on them. They could try that. Oh, by the way, you might have missed this news. You might have seen this news, but this is a good announcement that came out this past week. But for those who might have missed it, I say some stuff about the Phillies, but I don't say a ton of stuff about the Phillies. I jump in on them every once in a while. But I'm going to go over to an announcement that was made over the weekend over on Twitter.com. It's actually good news if you're a fan of the Joy Media podcasts, because I've gone out and gotten what I would argue is probably the most informative Phillies podcast on the market, which is, well, it used to have a different name, and now it has a different feed, so you do have to go subscribe to the new feed. But this is some big news. Anthony Sanfilippo, Bob Wankel, together again for an all-new season on an all-new Phillies podcast called Fightin' Words. Now, there's a YouTube channel, youtube.com/at Fightin' Words, no G, Fightin' Words. Also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you get your podcasts. I believe their goal this week is Tuesday and Friday, is what they've told me. And they are talking about doing live episodes streaming to YouTube and presumably X as well. So if you're a Phillies fan and you're looking for that Phillies fix, you're like, I don't know. How do I get my Phillies fix? Here you go. Fightin' Words, now part of Joy Media. So that's another show. So now, in the Joy Media universe, the cinematic universe, we have the Russ Joy Show Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We have Snow the Goalie / the Press Row Show, typically on Tuesdays, and then whenever Flyers home games are going on. It's Just Wrestling, typically on Thursdays. Now you got Fightin' Words. I think they're going to shoot for Mondays and Fridays, but there might be a Tuesday, Friday. They might do some weird stuff in there, but now you got Fightin' Words. That's 4 shows. 4 shows in the Joy Media Network. So you can subscribe, like I said, over on YouTube at Fightin' Words. If you are a subscriber to the Joy Media YouTube channel, all the episodes will go there as well. So if you're subscribed there and you want to have your all in one place to get each and every show that's in the network, you can stay subscribed there. If you haven't already subscribed to the Joy Media account, you certainly can. You can see the nice little logo right here. I'll pull up that Joy Media logo. Boom, this guy right here. You look for this over on the YouTube. There is another YouTube account called like Joy Media, and it's a guy who I think is in like Thailand or Singapore or something. He's got like 143,000 subscribers. That's not me. That's not me. He and I don't look the same. We certainly don't have the same amount of subscribers to our channel. Anyway, Fightin' Words. Go subscribe. You get a lot of Phillies talk, and I'm very excited to have Ant and Bob as part of the Joy Media family. And we'll see how the season goes. Those guys don't pull any punches. When it comes to the Phillies, they pull no punches. Sometimes people think that they're a little bit negative about the team. I'll tell you, there is a very large landscape out there of Phillies podcasts, and many of them will have you believe that everything is rainbows and smiles all the time. These guys are not that. When they're playing well, they give them credit, and when they're not playing well, you'll hear about it from them. So, there you go. Sean C. says, will Ant pick the Phillies to win the World Series again this year? Eager to listen to his outlook. You have to find out. Okay. Let's go to the last thing. And I said I went out on a high note. We're going to end on a little bit of positivity here. I would highly recommend, highly recommend that if you haven't done so already, you go find the 7 p.m. in Brooklyn podcast hosted by Carmelo Anthony and Kaz. I know Kaz from a podcast perspective. Kaz is on The Masked Man Show on The Ringer, pro wrestling podcast. Kaz does a very good job with his other shows. But DeVonta Smith was over on 7 p.m. in Brooklyn, and he had some very interesting things to say about Jalen Hurts, about the Eagles, about winning the Super Bowl. I'm not going to get to all of them here because we're kind of up against it time-wise. But there's one thing that I wanted everybody to hear, because DeVonta talked about the bond that he had with Jalen Hurts in college and then coming to the pros and then even winning the Super Bowl together, because this, to me, is a legitimate thing that, like, this should bring some warm and fuzzies to your heart, your soul, and your tum-tum. I want you to hear about DeVonta's thoughts on Jalen Hurts and about that relationship that he has with his starting quarterback.
Tell me about you and Jalen's relationship.
So it was 2 reasons I went to Alabama. Jalen was one reason, and Coach Burns was the other reason. You know, every time I went up there, I was with Jalen. I knew Jalen, I knew Shy. It was the only 2 people I knew. So just being there, I was comfortable with him knowing that, okay, if I do go, he's going to be the quarterback. He's somebody I can relate to, somebody I have a relationship with. So I was like, okay, I'm cool there. And then it was just like.
So there you have the college connection. DeVonta Smith says there were 2 people that were responsible primarily for him going to Alabama. Jalen Hurts was one of them. So now you have that pull all the way back to college about the bond between these 2. Let's keep going.
Just like, it's football. We 2 guys had the same mindset. Like, we here to dominate. We here to play football, win with all the extra stuff. And I think that's why the relationship was so good, and the conversations that we have, whether it's uncomfortable conversations or not, like, don't nobody get in their feelings because we have that relationship. And I think when I got drafted.
That's an important thing, too, the uncomfortable conversations. Remember, there are times on the sideline where it looks like DeVonta maybe gets a little bit frustrated. A.J. Brown gets a little bit frustrated. There's another clip from the show where he gets a little bit more into that. Again, I don't think I'm going to play all of them today, but maybe we'll do some of it on Wednesday. But DeVonta's saying, like, there's a relationship there where you're not going to get in your feelings if the other guy, if the other guy or if another guy from the team has something to say. And it is uncomfortable. Get me the ball. Let's figure this out. They're not turning against each other. All right, let's keep going.
Drafted Philly, man, I was happy as hell. Like, I got my dog here, you know. I know he was vouching for me, and it was just like, we about to pick up where we left off. It made me more.
Love that, because there's a continued connection from college to the pros. We're going to pick up where we left off. Love that. Keep going.
More comfortable being with him, someone that, you know, I had that relationship with. I kind of had a connection to, and just knowing that if I don't got nothing else in this city, I know I got him. And like,
if I don't got nothing else in this city, at least I got him. That sounds like a real friendship. That sounds like a real bond. That sounds like 2 guys that know what they have in each other as a friend, as a supporter, and as a teammate. And so when you think about long-term with this team, that's about as great of a connection as you could want to have. It goes back to college. It continued into the pros. And DeVonta says, if I if I have nothing else in the city, at least I have him. That's huge.
Like, that's just made it so much easier for me.
Winning it all this year. What was the conversation that y'all were having with each other on that sideline?
Last year, I think we lost like the last 7 games. I went to his crib, we chilling, shooting pool, just talking about the season and how, how everything went down. And then that moment clicked for me, like when we was up big, and it was just like, we was talking about, man, next year gonna be our year. We're gonna be back there. We're gonna be back at the crib for you. And at that time, it was so emotional for me, because it was like, bro, we really like spoke this up. And like now we hear all the work that we went through this.
So he was talking about how last year when things fell apart, they were talking about how the next year they're going to have a really good year. And then he said when they were up big, I guess in the Super Bowl, they had that moment where it's like, oh, we kind of like manifested this. We kind of talked about this happening.
Whole offseason, everybody talking about we ain't going to do this, we ain't going to do that. I feel like we're two guys that, we've been proving people wrong our whole lives, and just continue doing it, do it at the biggest stage.
All of the Jalen Hurts talk, especially knowing him as long as you've had, about him being a quote-unquote elite quarterback.
Now, here's the last thing. Now, is it biased? Because he said that there's a strong relationship with his starting quarterback. Remember, Slay is the one who really got people talking because it was Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen. And he didn't put his Super Bowl winning quarterback, Jalen Hurts, in there. Now, let's go to DeVonta.
Slay said, the big 4. For me, it's the big 5. And, Jalen is in that 5. 4 that he named, and then I'm putting Jalen in there. To me, that's the big 5. I don't think it's a big 4. I think it's a big 5, honestly.
He got to be in there now.
Yeah, for sure.
He earned it.
So you win a Super Bowl, and presumably you should probably be considered somewhere in that top 5, top 6 in the league. The only guy to beat Patrick Mahomes of that list, well, yeah, Jalen Hurts has to be somewhere up there. So I love that. There are more things from that. Like I said, maybe we'll get to some of them on Wednesday. But that was a good place, I thought, to end. Now I see people arguing in the comments now about the Phillies. I do see a couple of things here really quick. Let me go over here really fast because Zach goes, remember when Snow the Goalie had studio episodes? Kidding. There have been people complaining on Twitter. I'll talk about this in a sec. Joe Papel says, I never understood the Snow the Goalie studio. Isn't it easier to coordinate with Ant and Chris on Zoom? Very few shows this year outside of the game. This is very simple, at least as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, it's a complication. The team wants us to do the studio shows. We think the studio shows look nice. I don't really care if we do studio shows. I just want to do the show. I do this show 3 times a week. I try to get to It's Just Wrestling once a week. I don't know. Should be able to do Snow the Goalie. I would probably rather do it from home on a Tuesday at a routine time that the 3 of us agreed to. And if we can ever get down to the studio, cool. The team really kind of said they wanted us to do the studio shows. It ain't working, or at least it hasn't worked consistently this year. I don't like the return on it. I like the idea of having a consistent day and time. For a long time with Snow the Goalie, we just had a floating day. You never knew when it was going to happen. It would just kind of hit your podcast feed. We tried for a little bit, and prior to the really long homestand, we were in a good rhythm of every Tuesday we were going down and we were doing a studio show. It's one of the things we'll have to talk about the team, because we're making a decision coming up soon, I think, about if we're going to extend another year or not with the team. And to me, it's a very worthwhile conversation, because I get it. I get the discontent among some listeners over on Snow the Goalie that there have been 10 episodes of the show since the start of the season. The counter is we're doing Press Row Show every game. And if you do pay attention to Press Row Show, we do a lot of the same stuff on Press Row that we would do in a studio setting, or that we would do over a typical stream. It's just that, like, you get a bit of it in pregame, you get some of it in the first intermission, second intermission, and postgame. It's not all just like clear and concise in a 50-ish minute block. You still get the banter. You still get to talk about the rest of the league. It's just spread out. Now, there are thousands of people, literally thousands of people between YouTube, X, podcast feed, and everything else that check out every Press Row Show, or damn near every Press Row Show. So there's still a very large contingent of the listenership and the viewership that check out Press Row and seemingly enjoy it and get all of their Snow the Goalie fix. But I get it. There are people who don't like or don't want to participate in that, and so they look at it from a very narrow lens of only Snow the Goalie episodes, and they go, there's only been 10 episodes. I'm upset. I get it. I hear you. I do. Chris Freed asks, why is there no Press Row Show for away games? I don't know. It's not worth it. Like, to do 82, somebody'd have to pay me. Like, I'm a pretty simple guy. I'll be honest with you. I'm pretty simple. If the Flyers want to pay me to do road games, and they want to pay Ant and pay Bundy to do road games, we can have a conversation. But I'm not doing that for free. I'm certainly not doing that just for the ad revenue that we could generate on YouTube and podcast feed. It's just not worth it. I like having some nights. Somebody wants to pay me like decent money to do 82 games via in person or on a stream, then fine. We can have a conversation. But like, I'm not. No. We used to do the morning after show for away games. We did it last year. And what we started to find was that there was almost like we had a lot of people had the same complaints. Morning after show. That's not the same thing as Snow the Goalie. Or morning after would take a lot of the talking points that we would have done on a Snow the Goalie. So then we wouldn't do it. Just, I don't know. We're trying to figure it out. I think the truth is, and this is the thing that like if you've listened to podcasts for a while, or if you are subscribed to YouTube channels, you'll find that if you look at the most recent episode of whatever show it is that you listen to, and you go back 7 years to when we started Snow the Goalie, it was 7, it was 8, I think it was 7. The shows look different. The shows sound different. Shows just evolve over time. It is the way of the world. Could it ever go back to being a weekly episodic show? It is entirely possible. Could we stop doing Press Row Show at some point? Maybe. Could we figure out a way to do both? Sure. There are always ways to make things work. But at this point, the show kind of is what it is. We will do as many as we can. That's about it. But I'm always here. I am always here and available with this here microphone, with a camera, with actually a second camera. I'm always ready. Always good to go. So if we ever get to a point where we bail on the studio shows or we want to, make sure that we get an episode in no matter what, I'm here. I'm always here and I am ready. So we got that. All right. Let's see. Is there anything else? Sean C. says, I think we'd be in a different headspace if they didn't have the 7-game homestand or the 4 Nations break. Well, both of those were part of a problem, I guess. I'm not going to blame scheduling, but like the 7-game homestand, we were not going to go back down to Wells Fargo Center another day to just go record a show in the midst of that homestand. Like it wasn't going to happen. 4 Nations, I think I don't even remember if we did a show in the studio during 4 Nations. I really don't remember. But yeah, we'll figure it out. Zach O says, I enjoyed Press Row Show and I'm happy to have it. The OG show is great though. And what I found you guys on 4 or 5, what is time years ago. I get it. Listen, I think in a best case scenario, the 3 of us get back together to doing those studio shows. I fully expect that like over the summer, we're going to get back to like what has been the bread and butter of the show, doing a show every week, probably bringing on more guests. There's like a path here, but there are some things that we have to iron out. So there's that. Tony Liu here with a great answer, or a great question, by the way. If you had to choose to get rid of one, would it be Jey Uso in the main event or Rocky Thompson? Well, it would be Rocky Thompson. But I'd also note, Tony, I don't think that Gunther and Jey Uso are the main event of either night of WrestleMania. I don't think they're a main event at all. They might start one of the shows. Jey Uso should not be in a match for the World Heavyweight Championship under any circumstances. Maybe I'll get into that later this week on It's Just Wrestling. Until later in the week. This has been the Russ Joy Show. I've been Russ Joy, but you knew that already because you're smart. And it's also the name of the show. I'll be back on Wednesday and Friday, 8:30 a.m. here with the Russ Joy Show. It's Just Wrestling on Thursday. I think there's going to be a Snow the Goalie this week, so we'll figure that one out as well. And like I mentioned earlier, if you haven't done so already, go subscribe to Fightin' Words. And you can also subscribe to the Joy Media YouTube channel to catch every episode. And like I said, Ant and Bob, they're saying they're going to do live shows. So join those guys. Enjoy it. And go subscribe to Fightin' Words wherever you get your podcasts. So until Wednesday, it's been the Russ Joy Show. I've been Russ Joy. You knew that already because you're smart. It's also the name of the show. We still have to deal with Rocky Thompson and Taijuan Walker. It's going to be the same on Wednesday. Maybe the tanks will get better. We'll see. Talk to all of you on Wednesday here on the Russ Joy Show. Have a great day, everybody.